Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of MA10 TV. I'm your host Muhammad Ali, and in today's video guys, we will talk about some things that I thought that we would never talk about. For example, Lionel Messi's GOAT tour in India, of all places. I was like, okay. Then news broke that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman wants to buy FC Barcelona for 10 billion euros. I was like, oh my god. And then obviously the FIFA Best Awards just happened, so let's talk about what happened over there. But starting out with India. India. I don't know why you guys do this when you know the whole world is going to make fun of you. And always, like always, India talked a huge game and created big hype. And then it always came crashing down, and figuratively, obviously. And what we're talking about is the Lionel Messi event and how it started out. Well, how it started is that images got leaked of the 70-foot tall Lionel Messi statue with Argentina's World Cup trophy in his hand in India. And the statue, first of all, looks nothing like Messi at all. And everybody's like, who's this statue for? And, they've given the Ronaldo statue a competition now. And that's what everybody's talking about. And then Messi actually gets to India, and the first event he goes to, it's an absolute disaster. He goes into this huge stadium where the pitch is way far off from the fans, and you can barely see anybody, and Messi surrounded by hundreds of people, like celebrities, security, politicians, and the fans who were there paid over $200, like 50,000 Indian rupees, to just see Messi in the flesh. Can't catch a glimpse of him, and he leaves within 20 minutes because there was a bit of a crowd unrest or, some form of poor management, and, they have to leave, and the crowd goes absolutely ballistic, and, they started breaking off the chairs, started throwing them at the security. I think eventually they all came into the stadium and, over the fences and destroyed the net and the goals and all that stuff, and it's all going down, and there's arrests are being made, and it's a whole thing. And that's how this whole thing starts, and that's exactly how this whole trip is sort of going to be remembered now, like how Messi came to India, and it was a complete disaster, even though after that event everything started to simmer down and get better, and things were managed a lot better as it went on, because I think it was like a 3-4 day trip. Now, I think Messi's tour to India is out of Speed's playbook of using football's PR for popularity, and I'm sure it must have cost India a fortune to get Messi out there, because the guy that you're seeing trying to kick the ball around with Messi and failing completely is actually like the governor of the state that they were in India. So they're definitely using, Messi's popularity, I'm sure, to build up popularity among their own constituents, because you don't just get to come and kick about with Messi, and this is why India catches so much trolling online, because this is how they sort of promoted this among their local channels and stuff, because the guy Revant Reddy, is the CM. It was, two icons, Revant Reddy versus Lionel Messi, a showdown between two icons. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, this is the most dumbest thing ever. And, that's how they sort of, showed this. And I think there were posters of this politician in, in the full kit. And, with next to him was Messi, and it was like him versus him. It was completely hilarious. But to be fair, it slowly started to get better. Luis Suarez was there, Rodrigo de Paul were there, and, Messi, who initially looked a bit uncomfortable, started to, I feel like, appreciate India a little bit more, and, they had better, times, and, there were other events as well that went pretty well. And, Messi, you also have to, excuse me here, because Messi going to India and holding up, the Indian cricket team shirt is like Messi going to White Hart Lane and holding up a Spurs shirt. That's how I see this tour. And then, you saw them gift him, India versus Australia cricket match tickets. And I was like, okay, you guys just cheaped out here. You should have given him the India versus Pakistan tickets, obviously. But, that's just me being a little biased there, I'm sure. But then, Messi was invited to one of the richest families of India as well. They have this whole zoo, inside their house or whatever. This is how you know that Messi definitely had the best time there, because there were lions and tigers and, all these animals there. And Messi was just having a ball with all these animals and, not helping the rumors at all when he's, staring down the lion and just having a moment with him. Lion, recognizing Messi too, I would say, shout out to the lions. But Messi just staring into the glass with the lion's eyes did not help him at all, but definitely had the best time. It was like when you take your kid out to the zoo for the first time and, that's the reaction that Messi had in there. And, and then, because, he was at the richest person's house or whatever. And when I'm talking rich, I'm talking globally rich, billionaire status, multi-billionaire status. And, then Messi had to go through a bit of a humiliation ritual, in my opinion, as well. Like, it was funny. I mean, I'm just kidding. But, the Ronaldo fans will come in and be like, Ronaldo would never do that. And, they might have a point there. So that's something. But to be fair, even though this Messi tour to India started as a bit of a disaster, with every other event, it got better. And it was interesting to see Messi out there in India, in that part of the world, in that culture, and everything that happened around it was entertaining. And, no matter how you see it. And, with that, let's move on to the next topic of the video, which is equally crazy and maybe even concerning in some ways, because Saudi Arabia's crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman, wants to buy FC Barcelona for 10 billion euros and, wipe out their 2.5 billion euro debt and, completely put them back on top of the world of football. And, there's huge things to consider here. First, because, Barcelona is not a traditionally owned club by some owner or whatever. It's actually owned by fans in a fan model called the Socios model. And, there are over 150,000 Socios member who control the governance and the daily operations of FC Barcelona, or the people they elect do that. And Barcelona are a club which have been very organic in their history and have resisted commercialization and, giving their shirts off to sponsorship and all that. Obviously, as financial burden increased, they sort of had to do all that to compete. But it would be really sad to see that a club with Barcelona's identity and their, dependence on their academy and all that they had, their foundations, for them to be bailed out by Saudi at the end with a blank check to, forget all their worries and, go out and, spend all their money and, get success. I think for Barcelona, I would really hope that they can resist it and that they can, slowly but surely get Barcelona back on top, or, back to a comfortable position where they can sign players, where they can be in a transfer window, where they don't have to, that can pay players on time, all that type of stuff. So, this Saudi bid, even though tempting, Barcelona would look around, fans would look around and be like, this is FC Barcelona. If we have the financial power, the drop that we've had in the last 10 years maybe would not be there. But I think it would be best if they resisted, because, more than a club, FC Barcelona, I'm sure they would definitely resist this tempting bid from Saudi. Now let's talk about the FIFA Best Awards that just happened. Obviously, Ousmane Dembélé, FIFA Player of the Year, no doubt about it. Much deserved, of course. Great season for him. What I'm salty about, obviously, is Declan Rice's rejection for the Puskás Award. I think, that second free kick in the same game against Real Madrid in the Champions League, the technique, the finish, I think that was something special. And to do it twice in the game, come on. I think maybe I'm being a little biased there. And, the bicycle kick was nice. There were a couple of good options there, but I think Declan Rice's goal was a little bit special, but whatever. What I am definitely going to talk about, and I've already expressed my, displeasure with the fact that Palmer is involved in the FIFA Best Awards. We know why he's there, because of the, friendly World Cup in the preseason. Whatever. How does Jude Bellingham get into that FIFA 11 of the year? I don't understand. There's, Palmer, Bellingham over Rafinha with the season that he had. It's absolutely ridiculous. And even Lamine Yamal over Rafinha is a stretch, but that just tells you what PR can do. Even a player of your own team, obviously Lamine Yamal is favored by Barcelona. He's the face of FC Barcelona, if anything, and they choose him, I'm sure, in their PR efforts over Rafinha, who easily had a much better and a much more dominant season than Jude Bellingham, than Cole Palmer, than even Lamine Yamal. And, just wanted to express that thought as well. And now staying on the topic of FIFA, because they just announced this, because they received so much criticism over the ticket pricing for the 26 World Cup, they try to do a bit of a quick fix here, in my opinion, where they announced that each game of the World Cup, the 104 games of the World Cup, including the final, is going to have a small designated tickets that's going to be around $60 fixed price, and they're going to be distributed to the FAs, the football associations of all the countries, and then they would be responsible to make sure that their fans, that some of the fans can get those tickets. And what that means is that, we're not going to get those tickets. They're not going to be readily available. How do the FAs, around the world will manage these tickets? You don't know. And, the fans' problem, the majority of the fans' problem, about the ticket prices just being out of control, is obviously not being addressed. And they're using this, $60 ticket for, we don't know how to get these tickets. We can't get these tickets. So, it's a bit of a, PR fix there. But those are the news that we wanted to talk about. Let me know what you guys think of Messi's tour to India, guys. I mean, spare no detail. Put it down in the comments. What do you think about Barcelona's situation right now with the Saudi takeover? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's even a possibility? Let me know. And of course, the FIFA Best Awards, what do you guys think about the FIFA Best 11? Are there any Declan Rice supporters here for the Pushkash Award? Let me know in the comments. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys next time.